Do you have a mission statement for yourself and or for your organization? Do you know whether or not your brand and your branding actually match? And how does culture fit into all that anyway? Welcome back to Neuroconversion Leadership, where we talk about effective communication and leadership in the STEM workplace. I love helping great engineers become great leaders, and one of the key ways to do that is through good branding, mission, and culture. So let's jump into it. First, I want to start with giving you my definitions, because whenever someone says something about marketing or branding or mission, they can mean a lot of different things and they're used in a lot of different ways. So I always stop and ask them. So for the purpose of this, I'm going to tell you how I view each of those things and then go into them a little bit more. Vision is what you want your future to look like. And when people talk about vision and mission, sometimes they start with vision, sometimes they start with mission. Mission is your core purpose, what you want to be, like why you are there. And the mission statement is a concise description of your mission. Sometimes people have a mission and the vision is what the future looks like if they achieve that mission. Sometimes they have a vision of what they want to achieve and they figure out what their mission is to get there. So for me, they can go back and forth. Branding is trying to control how you're perceived when you make a brand promise, and the brand is how you're actually perceived or your reputation. And culture are the values, mindsets, and behaviors of a group or the actions of an individual, and they are what help you achieve the brand that you want to achieve. When we talk about a mission statement should be concise, and this is one thing that people always struggle with. They're usually too long, and they should be concise because they should be memorable. And for me, it's not as important that clients and customers and prospects can remember your mission statement. It's more important that you remember your mission statement, because when you have a mission statement and it is very clear and it's very memorable, and it has to be concise to be memorable, it's going to help you make decisions. When an important crossroads comes up, I know it's worked for me, I would stop and I would be totally stuck. And when I eventually thought about, okay, what's my mission? It became really, really clear. So I think a great mission statement is a great way to explain to customers what you want to be, but it's also just a great way to help you understand what's important to yourself. Just about every company, and often divisions within that company, have a mission statement. Here are a few good ones from companies. Tesla: to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy. That is short, concise, and it tells you what they want to do. Google: to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. That explains even the term. When we use the term Google, we're basically using the term Google in the way that they intended it with their mission statement. And the one for TED is excellent. Spread ideas. And that's what they do. They spread ideas. So for companies, it's really important to have one and for them to be memorable. I think for individuals, it's just as important, and most people don't bother to do it. So if you have one overall, it should be kind of your mission for life. I'll tell you what mine is. Mine is have fun, be the best I can be, and make the world a better place. When I'm thinking about everything in my life, my interaction with family, friends, work, those are the things that I am trying to do and be. But you may also want to have a more specific one for yourself. For example, if someone were a leader at a company, their work mission for themselves might be help everyone who works with me achieve their highest potential and feel fulfilled. If you had that as your mission and your mission statement, that would really guide a lot of decisions for yourself, whether you share it with everybody or not. Now, branding is really, it's kind of your stake in the ground. It's what you want to be known for. It's not the only thing you do, but branding is you telling people what you are. Now, for companies, it's through marketing and promotions and what you promise to your customers. So for Wegmans, their branding statement is consistent low prices. Wonderful. That is very clear. People know what they are saying they will do, and they're following through on it. Now, brand is whether or not your client actually believes that promise. When it's a really good brand promise, you under promise and you over perform. So Wegmans does more than just provide consistent low prices. When people hear that, they'll say, yes, they do provide consistent low prices and they're really convenient and I love their products. They underpromised and they hit a home run by doing so. Now, as an individual, people aren't putting this out there on, ads saying what your brand promise is. But often people will say things when you are introduced to a new team, or if you're a teacher in front of a room, someone might say something like, I'm tough, but I'm fair. You've basically just made a branding promise. But the brand, again, is your reputation. And do you fulfill it? Do you fulfill that brand promise? What if you are fair, but you're not actually tough? Even though it's the less pleasant part of your brand promise that you're not following through, people will still lose respect. Well, he says he's tough but fair, and he's fair. You just lost people's respect because you didn't fulfill your promise. It's much better to just say, I'm fair. Okay, you can do that. If you're also tough, that's going to be fine too. Now, how do you get to fulfilling the brand promise? That is through an organization's culture and integrity. So for individuals, it's how do you actually engage with the people around you? Are you doing the things that you've told them that you will do? And even more. So what it takes for an individual to fulfill their brand promise are habits, consistency, follow through, and your demeanor, how you interact. If you can have the habits and the consistency to be able to follow through on all the things you say you're going to do and do it in a at least relatively pleasant way, then your brand may be even better than what you promised. It's more challenging for an organization because it's not just one person, it's not just you, it's how everyone interacts with the outside world and with each other. So for an organization, culture is going to require communication of the values and the mission and the vision, encouragement of those behaviors that fulfill it, systems which are going to allow people to perform in a way that fulfills those expectations, and there have to be consequences. If someone's not able to or not willing to fulfill the brand promise, then they should no longer be on the team. They shouldn't be allowed to do that. So it's tougher to build integrity and culture within a team than it is individually, but it can definitely be done. And in both cases, it's kind of habits and systems and follow through. So what I'd like you to do after this is go to your company website and see what your company's mission statement is. Does it even have one? And if they do, can you remember it? Is it short enough to remember, and does it make sense? If it's not, start thinking about what it should be, both for the company and for your organization, if you have a smaller department within a larger company. What should it be? And a lot of times getting together with other people in the group is going to help you achieve that. And then secondly, create a personal mission statement, one both for just your life in general and for your role within the company. One thing that I tell people to help them create a personal mission statement is, if you could attend your own funeral, what would people say about you that would make you say, yes, I nailed it. I nailed life, because that's what people say about me. That was my mission accomplished. That's a good way to start to think about your personal mission statement. And then the next part is your brand and your branding. And it's pretty interesting that they're not always the same thing. I suggest that you ask people what you say about yourself. Not what they think about you, but first ask, what do you say about yourself? And sometimes it can be a surprise. Sometimes it can be like, well, you always say that you're not very good at whatever, speaking up for yourself or talking in public or whatever it is. If you say that often enough, that is effectively the branding and the brand promise you're putting out there, and it may not be the one that you want. So check and see what other people hear you saying about yourself, and then see if you need to be conscious about tweaking that. And once you know that, then ask people what they actually think about you. And it may or may not be better than what you're actually saying about yourself, but make sure you understand what you say about yourself and what other people are saying and thinking about you. And once you've done it for yourself, do the same thing for your organization. Do the people within your organization know what the mission and what your brand promise is? And do customers, clients, prospects understand it and believe it? And then what do you do to make sure you fulfill the brand promise that you want to be giving? If you find that you're not giving the right branding promise, then you should change that. If you find you are giving the right branding promise, but you're not following through on it, what are the steps you need to take in order to make sure you follow through? Do you need to change the promise, or do you need to change your actions? Thanks so much for listening. And I'm really curious of what your mission is and what your brand promise is, and I would like to help if I can. I am very happy to provide a complimentary 30-minute session by Zoom or phone and discuss it. I'd love to hear what you have and help go through a couple of iterations and see if we can't make it more clear. I've done this a lot, and I can tell you that an outside perspective can go a long way to clearing it up for yourself and for others. So reach out to me on LinkedIn or my website, www.neuroconversantleadership.com, and schedule a time to talk. I look forward to it. Let's talk again next week.